Okay, everybody, looks like we're at the 1:30 bewitching hour, so I will call to order the Ames Board of Trustees, and let's all join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. I guess sometime we're going to have a Pledge of Allegiance to Artie, aren't we? Or as long as we have the Artie flag up here. So, yep, okay. You can't hear me? I'm not talking now, can you? Okay. Well, you're lucky. Those up here can hear me, so. Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And before I ask for a motion, I'll tell you right now that we do need an addition. I understand that as of when we put this agenda together, we didn't have an Excellence of Ames presentation. And we do now. So Kelly's shaking her head over there. So we need to add that under the President's report. That would be the first item of business. So is there a motion to approve that agenda with that addition?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Lyle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carol. Is there any discussion further needed? Okay, hearing none, all approve indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And those that no. Okay, thank you. We've now approved the agenda. Timothy, do we have any public comment today?
There are no public comments today.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along, then the next would be the consent agenda. Members, you've had it in your hands for a while now. Assume that you've studied it a bit. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Jean. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carol. Is there any additional comments? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. That motion is carried. Representatives to the board. First up, we have Student Government Association. Chris Warren? Nope. Uh-oh, that's not Chris Warren.
I'll do my best to double as Chris Warren. You will see in your packet the SGA has provided to you that Chris is unable to be here today as they are on a leadership retreat. He certainly sends his regrets, but did include updates for you in your packet.
Okay, great, super. Next then is Faculty Association. Rook, Leslie, here she comes, okay.
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing?
Hey there. Good.
Doing good? All right. So we have an update for you here. The first on the list is by instructor Shaneth Gonzalez. She wrote the Passionate Educator's Handbook. It'll be published by EU Publishing. The topics include equity in education and culturally responsive teaching. So she's having that published. In community involvement this summer, Eden Welker volunteered as a professional archaeologist, and they went and excavated Sacagawea's home village located in the Knife River Indian Village National Historic Site in Stanton, North Dakota. So she went with some other professional archaeologists, and they went I think, many different abodes. They were going through many different dirt and things, whatever. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know music more. So, yes, it sounds amazing. So, important village of 40 earthen lodges. There we go. So, she was part of that. Then, a major conference that was attended by quite a few of our faculty members this over the summer was at the Teaching Professor Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. So we had professors of English, Allison Easley, Megan Friesen, Leslie Morrison, Joanne Sherman, professor of speech, April McClure, instructor of French, Lucia Lunda, professor of AAA in education, Denise Pearson, the FTLC chair, Dr. Teresa Reynolds, Sarah Ramsey, and faculty coach Meg Spencer. They all went down for this amazing conference, and it's devoted exclusively to the art and science of teaching, basically. So they go and find ways to bring back mentoring for our students. They were doing ask coaching, layered curriculum, success strategies for students at risk, all sorts of unique methods that you can use with video online and with teaching and things like that. So that the whole group went down and have a bunch to bring back for us. So we will talk about that more later, I'm sure. As far as training and professional development, Professor of English and Humanities, Shell Costello, traveled to Brussels this summer. She was one of just 11 out of over 100 applicants that tried to go. Only 11 were able to go. Shell was one of them. And she visited the three main bodies of the European Union. She did European Parliament, European Commission, Council of the European Union, and also NATO. So she has provided, I think she sent that out in the daily for everyone. So there were pictures of Artie at the EU and things like that. So she took Artie with her. So Shell completed that this summer. The professor and chair of industrial tech, Lee McMains, attended a week-long training event in Jeffersonville, Indiana at Amatrol. So Amatrol makes the equipment and curriculum for a lot of the lab equipment that we use in the ATTC. This summer marked his third visit and fifth week learning best teaching practices on that equipment. Professor of Geography, Mark Moody, who will be in as the next BOT representative for faculty. He went to an AP Geography reading in Cincinnati, Ohio, and networked with high school and college instructors there. Instructor of early childhood education, Deborah Becker, represented Ames Community College by successfully teaching ECE 103, guidance with young children in China for 6 weeks this summer. So she was over there teaching and representing Ames for us in China. Look at us all over the world these days. Yeah. Then last on the list, I have the chair and professor of ECE as well, Christine Wiedemann. She completed an Expanding Quality Infant Toddler Specialist Foundations training course. So she completed that. She also earned 2 other certificates this summer, one from the Colorado Department of Human Services and the Colorado Shines, the Early Childhood Professional 5 and Intermediate Training credential as well. Wow. So Christine Wiedemann. No, my goodness. Thank you for your time. That's all we have today.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have Staff Association. Jen Seedoff. Yep.
Good afternoon, Chairman Peterson, members of the board, Dr. B. It's been a quiet summer for the ASA, but we're ready to get rolling. So July 1st marked the change in some of our board membership. Yours truly moved into the role of president. Miranda McFarlane, Human Resource Specialist, is our vice president. Rachel Walsh, Program Coordinator for Employee Wellness, is continuing as our treasurer. Emily Russell, Human Resources Specialist, is our secretary. Natalia Delgado will continue as our Fort Lupton representative. We welcomed Zach Heron, who is here on the Loveland campus. He'll be our Loveland representative. Nan Prince will continue as our Windsor representative. Tiara Perez, administrative support in financial services, will be our part-time representative. And we also welcomed Ross Perkins, Director of Office of Academic Assessment. He will be our committee representative. So we're excited to have these new members and start with our new roles. We also gave employees a chance to cool off in the middle of summer. We held our annual ice cream social on July 25th with all campuses. TCBY in Greeley graciously provided ice cream for the Greeley and Windsor campuses, and Loveland and Fort Lupton, they used local stores for their treats. But all of the campuses had games and mindful arty coloring sheets and music to provide a laid-back experience for all the employees to take a break. So tomorrow we will be having our annual retreat to start planning our year. We'll be working on monthly events that we'd like to start doing for networking, and we'll also take a look at the goals that we want to accomplish as the staff association this year. So I'd like to point out a couple of staff accomplishments and kudos. So let's see, this summer, a writing tutor who wished to remain nameless in the Learning Commons, she was selected as a High Plains Library District Writer in Residence. The goal of the program is to support the creative process of one Weld County writer during a 9-month time period so they may complete a manuscript with the intent to publish. So we congratulate this writing tutor and wish her the best. And finally, I would like to give a shout out, I think I saw him here, to Chris Peterson, the Assistant Director of Financial Aid. He received 4 Ripples in Recognition nominations in July. So I'd like to read those. So the first one, he was nominated by Jess Lundstrm, Administrative Support and Financial Aid. Not sure how financial aid would function without Chris. He has kept the office running seamlessly, doing his own job duties as well as those of the director while she prepares for retirement. I am so thankful to work alongside such an amazing leader. Thank you, Chris. You are a rock star, in all caps. The second, nominated by Vicki Lovato, Financial Aid Specialist, Senior. Chris is doing an excellent job of keeping the financial aid office running this July 2019, while Dr. Nancy Gray is out of the office, getting ready to retire. Chris always makes time to answer our questions, even though he is running in many directions, trying to keep everything running smoothly in the office. Keep up the great work, Chris. We here in financial aid are behind you every step of the way, and we got your back. Nice job, Chris. The next is from Jessica Sosa, Financial Aid Advisor. Chris definitely deserves a little recognition this month. In addition to his own job duties, Chris has taken on the responsibilities associated with being the interim executive director of the Financial Aid Office for the last few weeks. Despite having a million things to handle, which constantly has him being pulled in every direction, he continues to carve out time to sit and teach me what he has learned from working in financial aid for many years. I sincerely appreciate Chris's willingness to pass on and share his wealth of knowledge with me. It is absolutely refreshing to report to someone who is encouraging, supportive, and promotes a growth mindset. Thank you for believing in me and making my workday just that much more fun. The last was nominated by Taggart Chuck, Financial Aid Advisor. Chris has been a phenomenal supervisor and assistant director throughout my Ames career. He has exemplified the nature of leadership and consistently goes above and beyond the call of duty. Chris will regularly put the needs of others before his own and is constantly reminding the financial aid folks through his own actions and leading by example to be better. Better in customer service, better processors, and frankly, better people in general. Chris has recently taken on some of the additional tasks associated with the retirement of our current director, Nancy. Chris, again, has far surpassed any and all expectations for the responsibilities that he has been challenged with. Not only does he provide direction and assistance when necessary, he has still somehow continued to make himself available for the team's support and growth. This man apparently does not abide by the laws of time, because I cannot fathom how he continues to support the financial aid team in such a meaningful way during such a busy time. Thanks, Chris. And I personally would like to echo those, as I've had my own interactions with Chris, and he has been nothing but helpful to my questions. And so congratulations, Chris. Very well deserved. So thank you.
I think Chris ought to take a bow on that. Very good, okay. But you know, with a name like that, you just can't fail. So, okay, moving right along. President's report. Dr. B?
That would be me. Wonderful, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So the first item that is there is, or not there, but is there now, is our Excellence at Ames. And Kelly Jackson is going to introduce our alum, and she will go ahead and tell us our story and her story. And we welcome you very much to the Loveland campus, and glad you're here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Bornstein. Today I introduce Tiana Smith. As always, excellence is part of Ames' name and the students that come to Ames. Tiana is an Agfinity Annual Scholarship recipient, graduated in 2017 with a Soil and Crop Science AAS and a certificate in Precision Ag. She was a President's List recipient, and I introduce her today to share the remainder of her story. Welcome,
Okay,
Tiana.
super.
Thanks, Kelly. As she said, my name is Tiana Smith, and I'm the 5th generation on my family farm, and I graduated high school, so I figured college was something I needed to do next. But I'm the youngest of 4 daughters, and they all went to universities, so that therefore I needed to go to a university. My parents never put that type of pressure on me, but I knew that I needed to do that. If anyone remembers a woman named Eileen Ean, she lived really close to me, and I took care of her little kiddos quite often. I was the babysitter for Nora and Fisk, and Eileen would come home from work from Ames, and she'd say, Tiana, what are your plans for college? And I'd say, Eileen, I'm going to the land-grant university, you know, where you went, CSU. And she'd always just say, yeah, that's nice, but do you realize I teach at Ames? And it was just a running joke. That whole entire senior year, she was putting her kids' health in my hands, but I wasn't at Ames. So graduation finally approached, and I realized I did not want to live in the dorms. I did not want to start off in debt, and I did want to stay on the family farm and finish my years in 4-H and take care of my own animals. I mean, the list can go on and on. So I decided Ames would be it. I'm not going to lie, when Ames first was my top pick, when I realized that was what I had to do, I was a little doubtful because it's a community college, right? I feel like everyone in my generation sometimes thinks that because they want to wear university things, but you know, I'm on a university, and I still proudly wear Ames more often than I do CSU. So I will say the impact that Ames had on me, not just what I had sitting in the classroom, but also financially how it helped me, has shaped my life to be what it is right now. I got a few internships just because I was an Ames student. My teachers got my foot in the door, and I was an internship at Trimble, which is really unheard of, even if you're a graduate at CSU, and I've had the opportunity to go back if I wish after I continue my education, but I will be continuing to go back to the family farm, and I constantly talk with my professors all the time, Amy, Kirk, all of them, and I still talk and text them if I'm like, well, what's going on with this plant? I don't know, I've never seen it, and it's really nice to come from a community that supports me, so thanks for supporting me also.
Great. Man, that's what we like to hear.
That's right. Thank you, Tiana. We actually, we do this every month. We alternate between an alum and a current student. And we usually start our meetings or our president's report with a story so that we all, as a board, as a leadership team, as employees, remember why we're all here and why we do what we do. So thank you for sharing your story. We have just a little swag bag for you to thank you. So thank you.
Well, thank you for what all of you do in this room.
Okay.
And for those of you who are newer to the college, Aileen N. is the single person who started the ag program and got it rolling to become what it is today.
Oh, awesome. Great. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so next under President's Report, Strategic Plan Initiatives. So really, I just wanted to remind us the process for this year for our reporting out and your, as a board, monitoring of our progress. So you might recall last year, August, at this time, we said, all right, these were some of the things that we're going to focus on this year that are the tactics in our strategic plan. In January, at your retreat, we gave you a mid-year update. And then in June, at your retreat, we gave you a year-end status report on those things. So here we are in August again. So as we move through the President's Report, so as the Cabinet moves through, within their President's Report topics, they're going to highlight some of those tactics that they're going to focus on as we move through year 2 of our strategic plan. Some of them are continuations from last year, others are new. And you have that list in your packet. It should be with the board priorities and the CEO goals that you'll be acting on today, so it's probably under the action section. So if you're looking for where that is, or if they refer to it, that's where you'll find it. So the first person I would like to ask to come up, who doesn't normally come up, is Dee Schultz, our Executive Director. She said, first, Executive Director of Human Resources, that would like to share with you a couple of those items that she'll be focused on this year from our Year 2 strategic plan.
Yes. Thank you for having me today. We're working on 2 tactics. First tactic is line 39, which is the employee on and offboarding. We're going to focus on just 2 components of that tactic. And that the first will be the onboarding training that we hope to provide to all of our new employees. We had our first very successful event last week, thanks to, in part, and mostly to a lot of support we received from a lot of administration, staff, and faculty to put on that all-day event for our new staff. We had 30 attendees, and so we were trying to catch up, and it was a great event. The second piece of that tactic is the employee handbook. So we're going to be, this year is focused on research to see if we want to implement an employee handbook, and then we'll be providing a recommendation later in the year. The second tactic that we'll be working on is recruitment, understanding aims, which is line 42. And so with this tactic, we're going to be looking at our recruiting practices and also have a stronger focus on our turnover and how we can improve those stats. We're very good on those stats. I usually provide that information during our annual report in November, but there's always room for improvement, and so we're going to focus on that this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just going to then just roll right into what's next on your agenda. So Executive Vice President Dr. Russ Rothamer is going to focus on highlights from his whole area, which has been expanded to include academic affairs.
Thank you, Dr. Bornstein. Chair Peterson, members of the board. In an effort to be effective and efficient, I'm actually going to ask 2 of my great friends and colleagues to join me, because as we've done these updates for you in terms of the tactics of the strategic plan, many of the tactics overlap, as well as our disciplines and areas that we lead overlap, and we have to collaborate and work together on. So some of those that I want to share with you, and Dr. Weiscaver and Mr. Ullman will jump in with their pieces as well, the things that we're working on together. So specifically, I want to start with line 6, which was expand alternative course delivery, and that was one of the last year that we shared with you of our night and weekend programs that we worked on. That will continue, but what I wanted to share with you is that this year we'll be expanding that work to look at other potential delivery modalities, such as online learning, looking at what CT offerings that we can offer both for credit and for non-credit, and looking across all the different populations as well. And I know there's some specific work that Dr. Weiscaver and her team are working on as well, because with that offering, we have to also provide services to those students.
Right, so even though this tactic is not indicated that we are partnering, as we look at the tactic and really start to think holistically about how do we best serve our students in night and weekends, the SACE division is looking at each one of our services to ensure that we can appropriately and meaningfully provide services online for students who are just online. In fact, I talked to a student this morning who said, I'm from Pierce, but I had to drive all the way up here because I couldn't make online advising work. That's something that in a month from now, she'll be able to say something differently.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. The next 3 I want to draw your attention to is line 8, increased degree attainment by adult learners. Line 56, increased non-credit offerings. And then line 56, re-envision emphases of satellite locations. And that's another area in which Mr. Ullman's and my teams are working considerably together. And a couple of pieces I want to highlight
for you on that before I let Mr. Ullman share more, is kind of what I was referencing before about different delivery modalities, is that we're also looking at what other offerings. If you remember the environmental scan data that we got from Northern Colorado and the opportunities that we have around that. Then I also shared with you this summer at your retreat the EMSI or MC study that we're doing for each of our satellite locations and communities, of doing a program gap analysis to really get an understanding of what we're currently offering, what's missing, and then being able to take that information and pull together the offerings to best meet those community needs for the individuals as well as the programs. And Timothy, if you wanted to share additional information you've garnered.
Absolutely. Just kind of rolling into all those line items Dr. Rothermer's talked about, taking a look at our satellite campuses, and they're doing a really great job of, if you will, defining what their particular niche is. For instance, like at Fort Lupton, they're doing a great job with welding, agriculture, CDL program, among other types of things. At Windsor, public safety, automotive, and then moving towards aviation. I think Mary told me they're having the drones get started, I think sometime very soon this fall, so that's great. And then one thing we had at Loveland, thanks to Heather orchestrating this, she was able to get the movers and shakers, if we were, for economic development, and they said, really what we're looking for are things to help retool our older adult learners. And also we really need something for our retirees, our seniors. And this would really help us. So we're listening to the community and what it is uniquely that we have to offer. And so we're going to sit down and have a very good discussion on that. And how do we reach out to the community to provide these opportunities for the things that the community says it needs. In that are going to be, some things for skills advancement. It's not necessarily that they're going to be for credit, college credit, but they'll be for certification or, certification that, they've taken a course, get them ready to go back into the job market if they so choose. Things like, business management, office management, computer skills. These are the types of things that we're doing. So that's a lot of what we're looking at there. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything here. Yeah, non-credit offerings, the campuses. Yeah, so we're very excited about that. And again, hats off to our campus executive directors who are doing an excellent job looking out there, seeing what needs to be done, talking with the communities, and making sure that the needs of the community are connected with the college and that we're providing what they need.
Excuse me, Timothy, do those trickle down into our concurrent programs in high schools? Is that part of that?
That's a part of what we're doing. We have, and I wish I had the figures. I mean, we were just looking at that a couple of weeks ago. But we have such a big impact with our concurrent enrollment that continues to grow, and it just is an enormous benefit to the local high schools and to the students that are there. And we're seeing that we're now having a higher capture rate, meaning the students that attend concurrent enrollment are now coming more and more to Ames, so which is fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
The next piece that we thought we'd share with you, and while Mr. Ullman is still up here with us, is our work on strategy number 1, objective under diverse populations. And I know the board has been very focused on the ways in which we're serving and supporting our diverse populations. And so I wanted to highlight a little bit of the work that we'll be working on this year to really bring some of that effort home. The first thing we'll be working on is line 14 of the strategic plan. It's the Equity and Inclusion Campus Climate Survey or Assessment. What we are doing with this is we are actually editing the RFP right now. We'll be sending out for RFP to different consulting groups to come onto campus and do a full assessment of our climate around diversity, inclusion, and equity. So that will give us as a community and also us as a group of leaders some better understanding of where are the areas that we need to grow, where are the areas that we're strong and we can build on, and how do we create a more inclusive environment. In addition to that, there are several other tactics, both line 15 and line 12, that Timothy Ullman and the recruiting area have been spending a lot of time working on, so I'll kind of pass it back to him so he can share that a little bit about that with you.
Thank you. get a lot of the fun stuff here. So that's great. And specifically on line 12, this is recruiting and admissions, and that's Jody and her team. And originally, I'm going to first tell you what we did. Originally, they were supposed to have kind of a program, how do we reach out to all these different groups out that are in our community. And we were looking at, let's have a kind of a workable plan by December 2020. Well, things happening in the college and moving as rapidly as Ames does, it was like, nope, we need that plan now. And so she got it done. Her team got it done. She got them together, says, here's what we're going to do. And so what they're doing is they're reaching out, because we're looking at the Latinx population, the small A population, the non-traditionals, older adult learners, and retirees. And so the plan's at the 90% mark. She and I actually are meeting tomorrow, and we're going to just put the final tweaks on that, get that squared away, and it's going to be implemented this month. So, just a real great opportunity to, as it says in the strategic plan, we need to, reach out into these populations, and that's what we're doing.
One question, with our new signage, have we gotten any kind of feedback from that as far as people coming in? Because you have some great capture statements when you drive by those.
They love it.
I know.
Yeah, and we do see a number of folks, because we're at Cornerstone, and so for whatever reason, we get a lot of people just kind of wander into our building, and thankfully we're right there. And so we're able to answer their questions, but a number of them have been directly attributable to the great work that they see on the monuments there. So, and it's awesome.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, I think when this assessment team comes in, they may very well learn something from Ames about how to be inclusive. So let us know what they learned from you, Sarah.
We certainly will. I think, to that point, I think there's some things we're doing that are very, very strong. And I also think, like all of us, even on our individual journeys, there's room for us to grow. And I think it's okay to look at the spaces for us to grow and be gentle and graceful with ourselves, but also truthful with ourselves about what those areas are. So I'm excited about it. We should have more information about that spring semester that we'll be rolling out. It'll take the full year, but we anticipate the assessment being complete this year. The very last thing we want to share with you is a partnership that Dr. Rothmer and I have been working on called Ames to UNC. I'm not sure if you are familiar with this, so I'll give you a brief overview. Ames to UNC is an idea and concept brought to us by Dr. Bornstein, who really inspired us to start thinking outside of the box in terms of how we can help our students transition from Ames over to UNC. The Ames to UNC program is truly designed to create a seamless and simplified process for students who want to start at Ames and end up at UNC. In some ways, it's a dual enrollment process in that students who are enrolled in the program are also enrolled at UNC for 0 credits, but that means that they can also access all the services they would like to at UNC while still being an Ames student. At the end of the day, what that does for students is it allows them to have a sense of belonging, feel familiarity, and better transition and hopefully be more successful once they get over to UNC. So that's kind of a broad overview of the program, and I think I'll hand it off to Dr. Rothburn to talk a little bit about our curriculum and some of the other pieces.
So this is a continuation of some work that's been done over the last year between our faculty department chairs and deans with our counterparts over at UNC, again, as Dr. Weiscaver mentioned, about creating that seamless transition, because we don't want any additive credits. We want students to be able to truly maximize their time at both institutions and get them to where they want to be, whatever those goals are. So very much looking forward to implementing this pilot in this upcoming year. And I know Timothy and team and all of our teams have been working very hard putting all the processes in place to make that a seamless transition for our students. So you'll be seeing a lot of different marketing and collateral coming out for that initiative as well. I don't know if you wanted to share anything in addition to that.
Just great initiative, and just Great job on the marketing team.
Yeah. Concur.
We are a power of 3 now.
Thank you both. Then I just have 2 other quick updates for you, more specifically from an institution and academic standpoint. And this first one, I'm just going to throw out a word of caution, if I may, in terms of you're going to have a lot of questions. I will not have the answers today because as I was reminded this morning when I was reviewing some of this information and asking a lot of the questions that automatically come up with some of this data, is that it does fluctuate, especially during this time of year, and we'll get some more solid numbers at the 10th day census, so 10 days after our courses start, and we'll come back. My commitment and promise to all of you is to come back with additional data to some of this. But why I think it's important to share this is because of our continued growth and what this shows. So just a couple of quick information data points for you. So overall institutional enrollment from this time fall point in time compared to last year at this point in time, our head count is up about 7.25%, and our FTE is up about 7%. Almost 85% increase in overall headcount and an overall FTE is due exclusively to our minority or non-white students. So when you think about whom we're serving and the importance that we've already talked about in terms of our inclusiveness and diversity initiatives of how important that is. Almost 50% of the increase in overall headcount and 34% of the increase in overall FTE is due exclusively to online students only. So they're only taking online. So the statement I made before about one of our tactics and focusing on those other modalities and specifically at our online students and how we're supporting those individuals and how important that is. And this is what Mr. Ullman referenced a little earlier. Our new first-time students to Ames Community College is almost up 40% in terms of headcount. And then 30% increase from fall of 2018 and looking at that capture rate from our concurrent enrollment. So we have a lot of those pieces in place. And again, what I was reminded earlier today is that we're pretty much at the top of that bell curve, and between now and that start of the fall semester and that first week, we do see a drop-off, but we'll still, according to looking at trend analysis, see those increases. So I think we're in a very good spot in terms of serving students and seeing the numbers come, and looking forward to presenting to you the more solid, not final, but data later this fall. All right, then I'd like to give up the rest of my time to my colleague and friend, Eric Himmler, who will share with you a brief update on our aviation program and a special event that's coming up in a couple short weeks. Eric.
What possibly could that be?
Yeah.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity, Board of Trustees, Dr. Bornstein, to speak to you today about aviation. So I apologize in advance for not having the packet prepped for you in advance, but I did. Everyone has received 2 pieces of paper. One is a bit of an eye chart, but it's a 1-pager that covers from 2018 to 2021, kind of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And then the top page is the Department of Aviation update, which I've kind of made as I've pulled some highlights from that spreadsheet to discuss kind of where we are right now, and then talk about some upcoming aviation events, one of which is actually already gone by, and we'll talk about that. So again, thanks for the time. So to start off, our student body for fall of 2019 right now is 80 total students. So we're looking at 50 student pilots. That's an increase for us of 25% from last year. That means right now we're operating at a 78% capacity. So why is that? Our capacity is 64 student pilots. That was my goal. Why didn't we hit the goal? And it's not to do that we didn't have the applicants, because we did. It's a shortage of certified flight instructors, which we're not alone in that. It's the number one issue for all flight schools and collegiate aviation institutions in training. aviators, is certified flight instructors. But we're doing better, and I think it's going to get better, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We have 30 air traffic control students. That's an increase of 50% from last year. We're operating about 75% capacity. Capacity based on our equipment right now and our classroom size, where we're at, is 40. So we're at 30 right now. I expect to be at 40 probably by fall of next year. So for the aviation flight plan, some highlights that I'll pull from that. We're onboarding some new aircraft, which is exciting. We're getting 2 new Piper Archers. They'll both have autopilots with them. Delivery is expected next week, August 15th, almost a week from today. And Alex and his team will be delivering those aircraft here for us. We have 1 American champion super decathlon. And you're thinking, what is that? That is our aerobatic aircraft. Why do we have an aerobatic aircraft? We have that aircraft because we need to conduct spin training for our instructors. Okay, so when they fly with students, they can get put in regimes of flight that are not the greatest, and our instructors need to be able to correct that. And so that's what we end up. So, right, Alex? So,
Understatement
so
of
it's
the
utilized
day.
for spin training primarily. We don't use it as an aerobatic aircraft. We utilize it for spin training. And so we have onboarded that aircraft, and it is in operation as we speak. We've acquired 2 new flight training devices, or in the process of doing so. We've recently acquired 1 new, basically it's a jet sim. It is the replacement of our full motion sim that is no longer in the building, that no longer exists. It is grass. It looks good. It's utilized for the professional pilot capstone course. Most of our students are in the professional pilot curriculum. It replaces the full motion simulator, as I've discussed, and our courses have already started this summer, so we just finished our first round in that jet simulator. So our students are very excited to get in those courses. We're also acquiring 1 new Piper Seminole multi-engine flight trainer from Frasca. We're getting that actually, it says August 9th, and I apologize. It's August 19th, which is another interesting day, which is our grand opening. But we're getting it the morning of, and they'll be installing it and doing some training that week for us. It's also utilized for professional pilots as well as our general aviation pilot degree-seeking students. It replaces some of our older modular flight decks that are removed, and those courses will start this fall. We'll be ready for that. That's pretty exciting. And to talk a little bit about the shortage of our CFIs, we recently hired 2 full-time check airmen, and that's a win for the program, and we've recently hired 1 additional assistant chief flight instructor. So that's 3 full-time hires, and that certainly has helped us in onboarding more students. And what we're trying to do, we're having meetings in the near future on creating a better path to attract and retain more flight instructors. And so that's a work in progress. And so more to follow on that. As far as the UASs, it's not in your packet since it was discussed. Mr. Timothy Ullman brought that up. We're actually teaching AIMS UAS drones course. It's called UAS Flight Training. However, it's not being taught right now at AIMS. It's a concurrent enrollment course at Serbian Valley School District. They have a full runway, we say runway, a full area for them to fly not only fixed-wing drones, but the multi-rotor drones, and they are teaching an AIMS aviation course there right now. Every class they've had is filled to capacity, and we're getting great AIMS exposure. A lot of those students have already expressed great interest in coming to AIMS as part of our flight program, and some also for air traffic control. So it's pretty exciting, the exposure we're getting there. We plan on starting our first course here, hopefully in Windsor if it works out with the airspace in spring of 2020. We have some faculty that we're working on bringing on board. Interviews are going to be happening here shortly. All right, and last but not least, some aviation events to speak of. On July 22nd through July 28th, we had what was called the Experimental Aircraft Association Air Venture Oshkosh, simply known as Oshkosh. Okay, this is an annual event where aviation enthusiasts, totaling more than, it's actually 600,000 this year, from around 80 countries attend. It is the biggest aviation event pretty much in the world, certainly in our nation. And AIMS attended for the first time ever this year. We sent 2 aircraft. Piper hosted one of our aircraft on Main Street, and American Champion, who builds our Super Decathlon, the aerobatic aircraft, hosted our other aircraft. So those aircraft were not just parked anywhere, they were parked on what's called Main Street and got incredible, unprecedented exposure for our college and for our program. And that was extremely exciting. Last but not least here, on August 19th, there's a little bit of a day. It's National Aviation Day, and it's also the grand opening of our Ames Flight Training Center at Northern Colorado Regional Airport. It's from 1 to 3, and hopefully you all have received your invitations. Looking forward to that event. And one thing that we actually did today, Alex and his team got to fly on all of our aircraft, and so all of our aircraft are now at the Northern Colorado Regional Airport, and it was pretty neat to see 7 or 8 of our aircraft taxi up to the new hangar. So very, very exciting day for a lot of people today. So we talk about changing lives. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And with the growth and modernization that you all have allowed this program to be able to do, we're going to be changing more and more lives. So thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
All right, so, okay, all right. Do I need to introduce you? He needs no introduction. Mr. Chuck Jensen, Vice President, Administrative Services.
I think we went through that at the work session, didn't we? Mr. Chairman, members of the board, President Borstein, I'll start off my presentation first with the budget sheet that's in your packet, and I'll just make a few highlights. This is as of June 30th. So it's pretty much final for last fiscal year, but there has been a few adjustments in July, but for all practical purposes, this is a pretty accurate picture of where we ended up the fiscal year, June 30th, 2019. And I'll just highlight a couple of things as we go through the revenues and expenses. As you can see in our revenue categories, our tuition came in above our projection. Again, as Dr. Rothmeyer highlighted, our enrollment continues to be strong. And so our tuition revenues reflect that. Fees and other charges, again, that's actually a reflection of our aviation program, the fees that we're collecting for our flight program. So again, it all ties into enrollment. State appropriation, again, we continue to receive a very solid appropriation from the state of Colorado. And our general property taxes, again, as I've talked throughout the year, continue to come in very strong from Weld County. Under interest income, again, we've seen some growth in there, and that really is completely due to the bond market. With the financial markets the way they are right now, we're continuing to see stronger interest earnings in our investment accounts. And then again, I always like to wrap it up on the other revenue, which is our royalty revenue, primarily from our oil leases. And just to highlight that in this fiscal year, of that 2.8 million represented in other revenue, 2.6 of that is from our oil revenue. And overall, we've received almost 4 million in royalties since we've been receiving payments from these current production on the lease on the Greeley campus property. So a very strong picture for our revenue, and again, driven by strong tuition, strong property values in Weld County, and good support from the state of Colorado. Again, any questions as I go through, please just interject.
On the oil revenue, on the 4 million, what time period was that over, roughly?
That's been about 18 months now.
18, a year and a half or so. Okay.
Yep. And again, as we all anticipate, there's a bell curve on production. It starts low, goes high, and then it starts to taper off again, and we're starting to see that now. But we'll continue to see, I project we'll continue to see revenues for several years on that production. Into the expenditure side of the picture, again, personal services coming in pretty much under target. So again, very accurate budgeting on our behalf of our budget director, Caitlin. Yeah. Operating, again, our departments on campus continue to provide, adequate budgets to our departments, and they continue to spend what they need. And as you can see, they came under budget by about $3 million. Again, that's just a reflection of people spending what they need and no more. Our professional development, again, we continue to fund that at a level, and people continue to use it, and that's a resource we continue to make available, and our employees continue to take advantage of that. Our special one-time only projects, that's all the special things we do on campus. We're primarily classroom equipment and other things in offices. That came on pretty much at budget on that. This is the point of the presentation here that needs a little explanation as we look at our non-mandatory transfers. What that means is I'm transferring almost $29 million into our plant fund. Within our plant fund is where we fund all of our capital expenses, all of our projects on campus. So this year, fiscal year 19, that's about $10 million. So of that $29 million that's going into the plant fund, 10 has been spent on all the projects that we've done this year, including the facilities plan, all the projects that we've been talking about all year long, the ATTC, Fort Lupton, tearing down the sim, all those projects throughout the year, we continue to pay with cash. So as I can boil this down to probably about the simplest statement, I'm now putting $18 million back into our savings account at the end of fiscal year 2019. So between that number and what we're projecting for fiscal year 2020, I'm funding right now probably about 70% of our facilities plan already that we've approved, a $50 million facilities plan that the board approved. I've already reserved 70% of the revenue for that already, and we're only in the second year of that plan. Again, that just speaks to the strong support that we're getting from Weld County and our local taxpayers, that we're able to leverage that money into investments into the college. So that's kind of the bottom line on the fiscal picture for the year.
Just out of curiosity, Chuck, you said there will be some adjustments. Could you speak as to what those adjustments might be? And will it be significant?
We don't anticipate anything significant. There's maybe some tuition adjustments as we make some final adjustments to tuition. There will be some final dollars coming in from general property taxes. So there's a few things that happen in July that aren't reflected here, but they're very, very minor.
Okay.
Other questions
Any
on
questions?
the budget?
Anybody else?
Again, a very strong financial picture as we ended June 30th, 2019. And again, as we look to the next fiscal year, we continue to be in a very strong financial position. Okay.
I'll bet there are a lot of community colleges that would like to have for their total budget what you put into savings.
That's probably very true.
Pretty close,
Yeah.
anyway.
The next part of my presentation here will kind of combine both the strategic plan connotations and my updates on our facilities projects. That part of the strategic plan for this year really focuses on, of course, implementation of the master plan and then continued focus on our college infrastructure. So both of those tactics kind of woven into some of the updates I'll give you right now on where we're at on all of our facilities projects. Fort Lupton, our welding project there, we're anticipating move-in on August 8th and August 14th, so that project is completely on track.
Wow.
And wrapping up. The CDL lot at the Fort Lupton campus, we're estimating start of construction late fall 2019. And the monument sign is on track for a fall installation. As we've heard on the Loveland Airport project, airplanes are there, signs are on the roof, and we'll be wrapping that project up on time. On the Greeley campus, we are nearing completion of our IT renovation suite, which is in the Cornerstone building, and staff will be moving back in the week of August 12th. Third floor ATTC is complete, and staff have been moved in. Allied Health, again, that's the phlebotomy and rad tech renovations in Allied Health, on track, and staff will be moved in the week of August 19th. Facilities condition inventory, that's the big inventory we're doing on all of our campuses of highlighting where we're at with our roofs, our HVAC systems, and that gives us a real baseline for all of our infrastructure. That continues on, and we anticipate that initial work to be completed in September. We're also working on exterior signage for all campuses. And you may have noticed on the Greeley campus, we've laid some asphalt. The Cornerstone lot was remilled and relaid. You may have noticed on the 47th Street or Avenue entrance that we're working with the city of Greeley to reconfigure that entrance. And then repaving up all the way to Ames Boulevard. So that entrance, that side of campus is going to look remarkably different after we've cleaned all that up. And the speed bump's going away. One speed bump, just one.
18-incher.
A quick update on our Broomfield property. As the board has been made aware that we've been contacted by the Colorado Department of Transportation that they are now straightening out I-25 and that little curve there. And that'll impact approximately 3 acres of our property there. We've hired an appraiser. CDOT has hired an appraiser. And that's what happens. 2 appraisals and you come together and negotiate.
5.7. 5.7 million you need for it.
5.7. Mike,
You
make a
can
note of
help,
that.
you can give them the other 30 acres.
5.7. Mike and I have been out to the property, of course, and we know exactly what they're thinking, and it has no impact on our master plan out there. There was a master plan that was created for that property many years ago, and this is on the far western edge of our property, which is actually kind of the topography there is very slopey, so it wasn't a part of our master plan for building sites and such. So both Mike and I don't anticipate any impact other than some cash payment from the state of Colorado for either of that 3 acres, of that roughly 3 acres. Some of it will be an outright purchase, and some of it will be an easement. And so we're working through that with them right now. But again, no impact. We feel to our future planning of that 40 acres that we do have there.
Well, it'll give us better visibility from
Yep.
I-25, because the highway will be closer to us.
Yeah, the plans that we've seen, how they're straightening out 25, and we really are, I like to say, we're now going to have oceanfront property because the new configuration of they're putting a big roundabout on the east side of I-25, and that'll be right on the corner of our property. So I mean, the accessibility and the visibility of our property just
went up.
It just went up, I feel. And so, again, we'll keep the board posted as that will actually require board action as we go through the negotiations of the sale of that property and easements to the Department of Transportation.
What's the timeline on that, Chuck?
They're looking, our appraisals are due by the end of September, and then we'll start, October, November, start to negotiate with the department about what that means. They're fast-tracking that project, as we've come to understand. They've, as Mike will say, this is probably the 4th time that we've had conversations with the department over our property at Berthoud. They've been starting and stopping, looking at that issue at I-25 there. And it appears this time they got the money in the bank. And so they're pretty serious. And so we're anticipating moving through that relatively in a relatively short time frame here with them. But we'll keep the board posted as we go through that. Just one little side note, Mike and I were at an off-campus meeting, and we introduced ourselves as, we work at the college. And the person said, oh, that must be nice, you get the summers off. And, Mike and I kind of smiled. I said, no.
Just Friday.
Just Friday. Anyway, so that's, again, tying those facilities projects back to our master plan. Again, all that activity is contained in those strategic items within our strategies for the master plan, or the strategic plan, excuse me. And so now I want to kind of touch on a little bit, and I'll ask Brad Yoder, our CIO, to join me too as we now move into some of the IT projects, again, which then tie into the strategic tactics that relate to our IT plans. And I'm actually just going to turn that over to Brad he can step you through some of the projects that IT is working on and how they affect and correlate to the strategic plan.
Thank you, Chuck. Good morning, or afternoon. The tactics that we're working on for this coming year, are continuations of some that we'd already started. But one of the items that in line 47 is an improvement in the phone system. Offices like the call center and other offices that use phones heavily are looking for improvements like call routing, round robins, and voicemail, that kind of thing. So we'll be focusing on that during this upcoming year. The protection of sensitive data always comes up, and that's a continuation as well. Some of the things we're going to be doing there is improving encryption on all the devices around the college, as well as access, multi-factor authentication is going to be coming soon to so that it's stronger than passwords and usernames. Multi-factor authentication is the wave of the future right now. So we're going to be working on that. We're also going to be, we talked about the ERP project at the last retreat. That has progressed along, and we're excited to say that we're going to be starting that project. We actually already have started it. We've signed with a company called Workday, and over the next 3 years or so, we're going to be implementing, migrating our system from Banner, if you've heard of that, which includes our admissions, recruitment, registration, financial aid, finance, HR, all of those things. That core administrative system is going to be migrating over to this new modern platform called Workday. And we're really excited about that. We started this about a year ago and talked to the college, asked the college whether they were ready for this change, and it came back 100% yes, we are. The college is ready, and we are too. So we're excited about that. Like I said, the project will take about 3 to 4 years, but the first year, year one, will be a focus on HR and finance. So you guys are first. And we're really excited about that. Any questions?
Brad, is that a hard-based system that we will have on campus, or is that cloud?
No, that's a good question. Our strategy moving forward, cloud is sort of the place where things go now, and that's what this is. This is a cloud-based system, so all the hardware and security will be sitting somewhere in the United States, and we'll have backup and replication to other locations across the country. So we'll have some disaster recovery built into that as well, automatically, because of where it's located.
You said you're excited about it, but are the others excited?
I know at least one person. Oh, yeah, all right, yeah. I like it.
I mean, that's probably going to cause a few.
It's going to be hard.
Headaches, maybe.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Switch over the whole system that way.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, and we're following a pretty aggressive time schedule, but it's pretty prescribed, and we just kind of check the boxes as we go along. But it is going to be a lot of work. Yes, it is. Yeah. We do have in our minds, we want to make sure that we have what are we calling it? Wellness ambassadors or goodwill ambassadors? Something. Goodwill ambassadors, which kind of like that. Maybe we want to get to it before they need therapy. We'd like to give them chocolate. So,
very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Timothy, would you like to give the report on community and college relations?
Good afternoon again. I just have 3 items I just want to draw to your attention. The first one is with our marketing and communications team, which is doing some great stuff. And one of the things they're doing, the major lift, is restructuring. So part of that is taking a look at the website. And I know when you take a look at the website, it looks pretty and nice, and it's awesome. But there's a whole backside to that is not unattractive. And so by cleaning up these types of things, it will make it a lot more user-friendly. And it'll present the things that our people in the college want to convey to to people who are visiting the website. So we're going to get all that put together. So they're busy with that. The other piece that they're doing is they're revamping their product production. And I like to say we're kind of going from a mom and pop organization to a professionalized organization. And so it used to be people would just call up and say, hey, I need this and I need that, and they would just pop it out. And now it's like we've got so many projects. Like right now, they have 90 projects to get accomplished within the next few weeks. So we're trying to get a better production system so we can produce a better product for our Ames customers. And then they're also implementing a project management system that just helps everybody just kind of keep on track with all of that. And then the other piece that they're working on, we talked about it earlier, is the Ames to UNC. That's going to be an ongoing piece as far as the marketing is concerned for this year. I would say in the next few weeks, you'll start to see things around our community about Ames to UNC. You're also going to see some things around our community about Ames Community College. So Keep an eye out for those, take pictures, gratuitously point it out to others, so it's all good stuff. The other one I mentioned earlier about our satellite campuses, just doing tremendous work there. And I'm going to highlight Windsor and Fort Lupton. Their full-time enrollments for this fall are up. You heard Dr. Rothermer tell that I think overall the campus is up 7.5%, for this fall. Well, Windsor is up 13%. And Fort Lupton is up 15%. So great stuff. So we're just very, very pleased with their work out there. And then we're also going to be under Kelly's guidance with the foundation, increasing giving and opportunities for scholarships. And we've been able to give away, a lot of great scholarships to our students. And it's like, what more can we do? And we're providing more opportunities to reach out to folks who would be willing to give. But then there are also other places. We just came across one, if you're familiar with Mike Rowe and Dirty Jobs. He has the Mike Rowe Foundation. Well, he gives specific CTE scholarships. So it's like, okay, let's plug into that, because if you will, that's free money for our people to go do great things and get right to work in Weld County. That's just a few of the highlights that we got going there. It's been a busy summer.
Great.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Timothy. Dr. Weisgeber, would you like to give an update on student engagement, inclusion, and success, please?
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Bornstein. Every year for the last, this will be the third year, I've had the opportunity to say, welcome to fall semester. This is an especially exciting time for us because students are buzzed, the buildings are starting to fill, our staff is starting to move faster. In fact, even today we have what we called Open Advising Wednesday, where you don't have to have an appointment, you can come in. And so you bet at 7 a.m. there were folks waiting for us to open that door at 7:30. We opened it a little bit early today, but I had the opportunity to go down and talk with students and try to connect them with one another. New students with old students, and hand out student planners while they waited, and the excitement and the nervousness and the feeling of something new. You could just feel it. It was palpable and tangible in the College Center. So really excited about the work that's happening there and moving forward. Like my colleagues here, we have had a busy summer. So I'll give you a quick operational update. And I know oftentimes we update the board on the things that are going really well and we're knocking it out of the park. And we also want to provide updates for the board where we've experienced challenges. And so this spring and summer semester have been particularly challenging for the SACE division, simply as a result of being a little bit short-staffed. And what I'm very proud of the division is that I don't feel like any projects stopped. In fact, I feel like projects kept moving forward. The ball kept going. There was no impact to students, even though many of us were doing multiple roles. So I just want to take this opportunity to recognize again Chris Peterson, the star of the day, for helping us out, being the interim financial aid director. I'd like to recognize Kate Isle, who has been my staff associate, as well as the AVP staff associate, Shannon McCaslin, the AVP staff leadership team, for all stepping up and stepping in and doing double work over the last few semesters. Also want to give special thanks to the academic leadership team and the IRA team. You all have been patient and kind and helped wherever you could, so thank you so much. And of course, our administrative services team. Big shout out to Kaylee for all your help with the budget and me trying to figure out which way is up. Beyond that, we also are welcoming new folks. And so you'll meet a lot of the new folks from the division in September, when we're not in a little room and we're a little cooler. But I do want to draw your attention to our new executive director of the Student Activities, Inclusion, and Leadership Department. Nelson, would you mind just coming up so I can talk about you while you stand here? This is Nelson Rodriguez. He comes to us most recently from Aurora Community College. His background is in 4-year and 2-year leadership. He brings with him a lot of excellent experience and understanding around some pretty difficult topics, including different social activism pieces that he has experienced on other campuses. He has some great ideas and some expertise in study abroad and student leadership. Absolutely an expert in inclusion, and so we are so grateful to have Nelson and his leadership on board. So thank you, Nelson, for joining us, and welcome. Other quick updates. We rolled out Artie's Pantry Expansion. Now every campus on Ames Community College has an Artie's Pantry. Yay. We've had a total of 154 unique visits. Total visits is 830. So students are coming around 5 times to use the pantry. So we hope to see that increases on the Loveland, Fort Lupton, and Windsor campus as well. Lastly, I wanted to update you on a strategic plan item. It is line 20. It is the wellness program series, and this ties directly into Artie's Pantry, but also expands it a little bit. Angie Piccioni, who is the executive director of the Colorado Department for Higher Education, has challenged all institutions of higher ed to focus on basic needs for our college students. And Ames has opted in to participate in a basic need and insecurity survey that will give us a better idea of where our students are in terms of basic needs, food insecurity, housing insecurity, and those pieces. I can tell you right now what we know at Ames. In the 2018-19 year, 24 care cases and 15 emergency fund cases identified homelessness as an issue on our campus. So we know that this trend is happening nationally and expanding. Dean McCaslin and her team are working hard to bring Weld County Human Services and United Way onto campus to help students access their resources on campus instead of having to drive to the north side of town. They are also working on, in combination and partnership with our students and the student programming, to do different wellness programming and make sure that students are engaged and we have a better understanding of what their needs are. So more to come on that strategic plan item in the future. And that's all I have, unless there are any questions.
Questions, members?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, comments from me before I go down the meetings of note. And keep in mind, I know that's a long list of the meetings of note, but keep in mind that's 2.5 months. And at our retreat, you also asked for a more extensive list. So I'll talk about that in a second. But one of the things that are on that list is our attendance, Ames attendance at Alliance for Innovation and Transformation, which I think it's AFIT. We refer to it as AFIT. So we actually just got back. We took a group of 11 of us, including myself, and we were in Plano, Texas, and we focused on transformational leadership. And it was, I would say, pretty fantastic. Ames actually, and I think I sent that out to you, Ames was selected. It was a random selection, so there was nothing all that special, except we did have to fill out a survey and get all the right answers, which we did. But Ames was drawn to receive a Campus Works $2,000 scholarship for our foundation to use as we would like. This year is Campus Works' 20th anniversary, so their employees and their board created a pool of $40,000 that they're going to be giving out throughout the year at various functions in $2,000 increments. So we were the recipients of one of those, which was fantastic. The other thing that I wanted to mention that Brooke didn't know about in her AFA presentation, but the theme for us this year at AFIT was Gumby. So we did not have Ames Red, we had Gumby Green shirts. And what the exercise that we went through, did I just get lost? The exercise that we went through before we went to AFIT as a team is we all sort of closed our eyes and I said, all right, when I say transformational leadership, what's an image or a thought or something that comes to mind for you. And so there were things like transformers, malleable, clay, someone said Gumby, that kind of thing. And so we decided to have Gumby. I'm giving you the long story, and there's a reason for this. So in the past, we've asked our environmental technologies team to do some work on a 3D printer for like a centerpiece for a table. And so we said, hey, could you make us a 3D printed plastic Gumby about, 18, 20 inches for our table? And they said, sure. I'm like, great. So apparently that machine was broken. And so Lee McMains, I don't know if Lee is here, but Lee said, hey, we have this new medium. It's rubber. How about if we make you a rubber Gumby, which actually is a true Gumby? And yeah, okay, great. So they spent the summer crafting Gumby. So we ended up bringing, and I should have brought it with me, and I'll bring it next time, we brought a rubber Gumby 2.5, and I'll tell you why it's Gumby 2.5. So in order to do this, they had to actually build a mold, a two-sided mold, and they built it from wood, some rubber piping, I'm trying to remember, some cotton or a ping pong ball, I can't remember now what. They had to build a mold. They had to melt down the rubber, color the rubber, pour the rubber, and then put in some metal inside so that he could so that Gumby could articulate. Let those cure, put them together, paint the eyes on it. So Gumby 1.0 was teal and drooped a little bit. So they said, we'd like to have another shot at this. We've got a little time. So Gumby 2.0, they put stronger metal inside so that he wouldn't slump, and they, changed the color. And he came out great. I'm assuming Gumby's a he. I don't know. It could be an it. Gumby it. But then they tried to paint the eyes, and then something happened with the paint. So then the eyes needed to be replaced, so that's the 0.5. So Gumby 2.5. The reason I'm telling you all of this story is, one, it's pretty fantastic that we kind of got the rest of, other college involved in this. And we told this story at AFIT because, we had a team spirit award, and we were all in Gumby green, and Gumby's in the middle. And because we were in Plano, Texas, we took Artie's Stampede cowboy hat and we put it on Gumby, and we took Artie's scarf and we put it on Gumby, and then of course we had a little pokey. So we're telling the whole story. We won the Spirit Award for that story. And when we won it with regard to collaboration, it was because not only did we, we were creative, but also involved our faculty and other entities. And so when I was mentioning before we left, when I was chatting with Lee McMain and said, oh, I'm so sorry this took you all this time. It really was meant to be just a little bit of time. His comment was, no, actually this was really great because we hadn't worked with that medium before. We learned a ton by doing this, and we're ready to rock and roll. And they did it in the maker's space, and they're ready to rock and roll with students in the fall. So it actually turned out to be a really cool project, and that we won an award. So I'm giving you the long story, but really our AFIT experience this year was pretty fantastic on a lot of levels, and so I just wanted to share that with you, and that's just one thing on the list. Yeah. Okay. So going to the list, there's a lot here. What you can read it, and if you have questions, I'm happy to respond. But there's a couple of bullet points here that are that I just condensed. So there's something that says met/conversations with community members, and then I listed a whole bunch of community members. Some of those folks I have regular contact with. So it's, we text whenever we need to, or we have conversations pretty regularly. I wasn't going to list all of those conversations, but just so that you know that there's regular, frequent contact with folks. I also did not include any personal social time. Some of these people are actual personal friends, and we have dinners together and play cards and things like that. So I didn't list, obviously, any of that. But again, wanted you, because we had that conversation in our retreat about community outreach, I wanted to give you an idea of typical. And quite frankly, summer's usually a little quieter than usual. So this is 2.5 months worth of community touch points for your consumption, and enjoy that list.
What'd you do in your spare time?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had a little white space on the calendar this summer, so that was okay. So are there any questions about what might be here, or anything you want to know more about, other than my long story about AFIT?
Comments, questions? Anybody? Nope.
No? Okay. So,
Moving right along.
But thank you for that.
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So you have an employee report in your packets as well. I know several supervisors, as Dr. Weisgaber mentioned, chose not to introduce their teams today because we knew we had sort of limited space, so you will meet folks next September. However, if there is any supervisor here that did bring, I see a hand, a new employee, please do stand and introduce your employee so that we can get to know them.
Well, we didn't have to travel far. Actually, Allison Dunler is not that new, but it's the first time that her schedule allowed her to be at a board meeting. She's our new Loveland Student Development Counselor, and that is a combination of mental health counseling and academic advising. So she's amazing at both, and we're very lucky to have her.
All right.
And an Ames alum?
Yeah, yep.
Is that what, did you all say she's an Ames alum?
Yes.
Okay, I must have missed that if you said that, so I missed that.
I did not say it,
Oh.
but she is.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Any other supervisor here that wants to introduce their new employee? No? Okay. So next month, we'll probably have a lot of introductions at that meeting.
Okay.
And that concludes the president's report. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Any further questions or comments before we dive into the action items?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope, nope. Okay.
Let's do it.
Go for it.
Then moving right along, I guess the first item is the adoption of the board's priorities and the president's goals, which we discussed, I think, pretty thoroughly at the retreat. And they're also, of course, in the packet. So is there a motion to approve Board of Trustees priorities and the president's goals?
I would so move.
Thank you,
I'll second.
Lyle. Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, everyone in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion is carried. Emeritus status. Dr. Rothhammer.
Chair Peterson, members of the board, Dr. Bornstein, it's an honor and privilege to be here this afternoon to make this request of you of one of our faculty members, and that is DeLynn Anderson, who's a professor of business technology. And DeLynn started at Ames in 1999 as a part-time trainer, teaching Windows, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And during that time, she gained great experience with software skills that companies desired of their employees, and in 2001 became a full-time faculty member teaching courses in our business and technology area as well as our CIS area. She started and advised the Ames Student United Way Club. She also has been an author and editor of textbooks and has contributed much over time to the business programs. So it's with great honor, again, that I recommend approval of the emeritus status for DeLynn Anderson.
Okay. You've heard the request. Is there a motion to approve emeritus status for DeLynn Anderson?
I would move for approval of the emeritus status for DeLynn Anderson.
Thank you, Gene. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carol. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion is carried. Dr. Rothhammer. The recommendation letters were just amazing.
Yes.
They just were really something, so congratulations. Okay, now on to the credit hour policy.
Again, thank you for your time. And over this past year, as this was one of our strategic plan tactics from our HLC review, we've done numerous updates for this one. And the only other piece of information I wanted to reiterate for you is that this has gone through the Ames process, and many faculty, staff have been involved. College Council has reviewed this and also approved it. And as you look at the language, you probably wonder, because this is one of the topics that came up over and over again, is this really the way that we wanted to word it? Well, the answer to that is, well, it's not really the way we want to word it, but if we want to follow, and this is specifically what HLC asks, is what is the federal definition of the credit hour, and to be compliant with that, that is what is reflected here, and will absolutely meet what we need for HLC compliance. So with that, it's my request that the board approve credit hour policy, new number 112, as presented in your packet.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to do so?
I move we approve credit hour policy number 112, new as presented.
Thank you, Carol. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion is carried. So,
thank you.
Good job.
Oh, look
Yay.
at Doug's face is all smiley. Brianne's face is all smiley.
Okay, now, information items, correspondence. Do we have anything more than what was in the packet? We have several letters in there that were very complimentary of what was being done by Ames and so on. Board calendar, events. You know, you didn't say anything about the top 50.
Yeah, it's in there.
I know it's in here, but we didn't.
Oh, we didn't say anything.
Didn't say anything.
Top Workplace 2019.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Okay. Okay.
Lots going on.
Got that done. Okay, Board of Trustees. Once again, members, you've had time to take a look at this. Is there any additions or corrections, whatever we might do with this list?
No.
Don't see any.
Okay. There's a ceremony about the working agreement between Ames and UNC, and
Yes, the
is
sign.
there any,
It's a memorandum,
Uh,
MOU.
Yeah.
but there's a signing of it,
Yes.
and it was,
September 5th.
oh, okay. Is that down here?
My computer's staying.
Yes, it is.
It's
Oh,
on
Yes.
there.
okay.
Yes, it is on here.
It
Ames
is,
too,
okay.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
because
an
it was
MOU.
on the 15th, I think, of
Right,
August.
we had to push it.
Okay. All right, then it's moving right along. The board calendar for annual events, and there again, members, you've got it in your packet, which is a pretty thorough listing, I think, of things the board is going to be doing in the 2020 calendar, or 2020 calendar. Anything that should be added to that?
Can I just make a note? Can I just make a note on that calendar? So
Sure.
on that annual calendar, the reason that updated copies in there is we talked at, again, the retreat in June about a couple of additional things. We wanted to make sure that there was a couple touch points throughout the year where the board had an opportunity to check in on the progress of the board priorities. So you may want to do that in your comments at the end of a board meeting or in some other fashion, but you'll see in October that's been added, and then in February that's been added. And then also to make sure that we have an update from our trustee liaison to the foundation, and we added a couple of touch points for that too, so I'm trying to find where those were added. So those were just a couple of things we talked about, the retreat, that are added in here, so that's why that's there.
Question, just, this is something we can talk about later. After we do our ACCT conference, when's a good time to present? Again, we can talk about it later.
To present.
From or make it,
Our debrief?
reflect on that event. I find it a little bit easier if we do it maybe the next
Sooner.
month or.
Yeah, I think this last time we tried to, but something happened. We had to
I know
push
I
it out.
wasn't there that one
Yeah,
month.
so, yeah, something fell apart there, but typically we try to get it on the next agenda.
Okay.
So we'll do that again, and.
So it is on the November agenda
Okay.
to debrief from the October
Yeah.
It is.
meeting.
Yeah.
And then in March, an ACCT Legislative Summit report back, so
Yeah.
it is on here.
Yeah. Sure enough. Gotta read.
And we do that so that we don't forget. So that's why it's there.
Right.
Carrie and I have this right on our desk, front and center.
And if
Atta
I don't
girls.
get it on my calendar at home, then I got a problem too. So. Public comment update, Miss Schaefer, Randolph.
Trustees, first of all, I would like to take privilege here and do a special thank you to Megan Self. She's been helping out myself and our office for the last few months, and she's been a godsend, and I would like to just personally thank her for helping out. Couldn't have done it without you, and thank Dr. Rothamer for allowing her to help us. So thank you. Trustees, based on your conversation at the June retreat, you had requested some minor changes to the public comment wording on the agenda. So I just wanted to point out that we did make those updates. It is now closely worded to what our procedure 46.1 on public comment is. The substance has not changed, but the wording does closely relate to the procedure. So do you have any questions on that?
It's a good idea. Let's make it consistent as possible so that we're really doing what our policy says.
Okay, thank you. The second item I have somewhere in my pile of papers, which I don't have. Is an update on the 2019 election, and I am coordinating with okay, let me start over because I'm not doing a very good job here today. As a designated election official, I'm coordinating the election of 3 board seats with Weld, Adams, Broomfield, Larimer, Logan, and Morgan counties. Seats up for election are District A, which is Weld County School District 1, 3, and 8. District B, which is Weld County School District 6 and 7. District E, which is Weld County School District 5 and 6. There is a call for candidates, notification that has gone out in area newspapers, and we do have that call for nominations posted on our board's website. Candidate packets and nomination petitions are available by contacting me in the President's office. You may start circulating petitions today, which is August 7th. The completed notice of intent to be a candidate, nomination petitions, acceptance of nomination, and authorization form for release to conduct a background check are due to me on or before August 30th at 3 p.m. And the election date is Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. And we'll have further updates as we get closer to the election. Any questions on that?
Okay. Thank you. I would just add before you sit down, Carrie, that on behalf of the board, we're sure as heck glad you're back.
Okay, thank you very
That's
much.
just
I
a-
appreciate it.
I mean, and for two reasons. One, Megan did a heck of a good job.
She does.
I mean, she walked into our retreat like she'd been there forever, and we'd ask something, she knew the answer right away. So, but seriously, not only are we glad to have you back, but that indicates that your husband is getting better, and that we're very thankful for that too.
I appreciate that as well, and on behalf of HR, I would like to really thank you for that time that I could take.
Okay, good enough. Okay, members, comments from board members. Anything, and I guess we could maybe do the assessment of how we did today. Maybe all in one, if that would make sense. I suppose that we can do that. It's not according to the agenda, but maybe give it a shot. Anybody?
You want
Any
comments?
Yeah.
I can go.
Okay. Go for it.
It was a great meeting, a lot of great reports. Mike, the architects, gave us a lot of good visualizations of what the potential of this build-out's going to be like, and I appreciate all of that input. Coincidentally, at the end of last month, I was invited to give a presentation, believe it or not, on strategic planning, which is kind of not necessarily my bailiwick. At UNC, Dr. Gunsmanson, his guest speaker bailed on him, Dick Mumford, so he moved the decimal point over about 15 places, and I was the third caller to the left. At any rate, it was a class of about 25, 26 students. They were all seniors graduating, and they went through the course, and of course me, strategic, that I never took any business classes when I did go to college, but needless to say, I had a great opportunity to introduce my company, brought some brochures, did some things that were kind of rudimentary, but then I also had my Ames little swag bag that I brought along with me, and inside that bag, Kelly, for another presentation I did at Rotary, gave me all the alumni license plates holders in there. And one of the questions I asked, I had some giveaways too. I said, well, how many Ames graduates do we have here? And surprisingly, I gave 6 of those plate covers away. So the Ames to UNC is already in play. It's there. So I just wanted to let you know that that was a very, it was a great conversation. We had a great conversation today. That was good. Back to our build out. I spoke with our, and you might quote me wrong on this, Chuck, and feel free to step in, but we have an extremely wealthy county. To get the revenues that we receive at the college, it's huge. I mean, this last year's, it was $16.7 billion of asset value, and of which that asset value is 63% of that's oil and gas. That's a big number. The year before, the asset value for 17 was 11.5. So we're on an uptick. We're in a good way, like Chuck's saying. So we have to be very appreciative of those monies. We have to spend them well. I'm really happy with the build-out plan. So far to date, it seems like it's moving along quite well. Now, keep in mind, all of the business owners, both small and large, they got a pretty good sized increase in their tax bill this last year. My rent went up $400 a month. And I get a deal anyway, but it's still, it was the right thing. So those individuals and those companies feel that a little bit more than maybe a homeowner. Everybody felt their property taxes go up that you live in Weld County. But just so you know, that all comes from somewhere, and we're very fortunate to have this asset value right now. And again, I appreciate everybody's input today. And Ames to UNC, let's go. That's a great thing.
Okay, super.
Oh.
One more thing.
One more thing. I have decided to run for re-election. I've learned a lot, even though I've been involved with Ames quite often over the years. and I hope I can serve you well over the next 4 years. So I win.
Well, learning a lot will help a lot.
I know, I got to learn to read first.
Well, I certainly would agree with, it was a great meeting. Excuse me. Learned a lot. The presentation on future developments, investments was absolutely awesome. Ames is definitely on the move up. Looking at that presentation that we saw in the work session today and remembering helping move boxes over here to the cornerstone, what used to be the ITEL building, move boxes over there from the 5th Avenue old Lincoln School, and seeing what Ames is becoming today, and then seeing what we have the potential to become and what we're becoming is just absolutely unbelievable. Even though it's been 50 years, it's been a relatively short 50 years if you consider all that's been done in that time frame. So, wow, hats off to everybody. Excuse me, I got to catch my throat. Relative to what Mark said about Weld County being a wealthy county, it is, and it always has been and will continue to be. But right now it's extremely wealthy, and it's due to the oil and gas. And I look at it personally as kind of a windfall, because it is going to taper off. Even if oil regulations don't curtail a lot of it, the production is going to taper off. So we're not going to see these levels of revenues forever. So I know when I get a windfall, I don't get many of them, but I don't go out and buy a new truck or anything like that. I look for something that's going to make that last a long, long time, that I'm going to realize benefits from for a long, long time. And I see Ames doing that. And Chuck, your team, Leah, your whole team, and everybody for taking that tact and investing that wisely and bringing it to our approval, and it is just very, very much appreciated. You guys certainly do all the work. We get to sit up here and approve it or disapprove it or whatever and make suggestions, but it's a great time to be on this board, and we really appreciate it. So in that vein, I too will be running for re-election for District E. So I look forward to another 4 years here, hopefully, and continue the great work that we're doing and will continue to do. Thank you very much.
And you had better continue the good work because I'm term limited. So District A
And we're sorry to see you go.
Thank you. The seat is open. There is one candidate that I know of right now who has declared or is declaring, Heidi Wendell, who is a local small business owner in the Fort Lupton area. We are looking forward to the reopening of welding on the Fort Lupton campus. Because of the remodel, we have not had welding this summer. Despite the loss of that program, our enrollment was still up this summer. So kudos to that campus. Of course, we're looking forward to CFL and the gigantic sign, the biggest sign of all. And we have wonderful slanted roofs, Michael, that could, where we could paint the Ames and all of that. So that would be a cool thing to do too. Some kudos. Those of you who read the Greeley Trib, the editorial pages, Luke Cartier, who's one of our adjunct business professors, has had some really cool columns in. He writes once a month, and it always mentions that he's an adjunct instructor at Ames, and I think that's really great for us, and good columns. And I just want to give a shout out to our security staff, who not only are here all day during the day this week, but they are also covering Chautauqua in the evenings. And that's a lot of time, it's a lot of dedication, and a big thanks to all of them.
Well, just to add my comments to those comments you've already heard on the impressive campus development plan, a lot of good thought has gone into that, a lot of good input from the community, and it will help us to emphasize that we are a community resource. And yes, we're a resource to train the workforce, but we're also a resource to make this a great place to live and to bring different educational programs and other events to our community. I also wanted to comment on how nice it is to see our faculty reaching out and going out to international events and programs and bringing those ideas back here to help us move to that next level of programmatic development. This is a campus that is worthy of that kind of support to the faculty, and we've got the money to do it now. Let's do it. And as it relates to program development, it's impressive how quickly Ames can move on new ideas, new program development compared to four-year universities, and let's take advantage of that. So I think it was a great meeting. And I'm glad I'm just going to continue in my trustee position. I don't have to run again.
Well, I guess I would have to announce I'm not running, but I'm term limited, so I can't. But if I could, I would. I guarantee you, even now I think about the end of my term, and it makes me sad to really think that I could, well, I know I will, leave this great organization. So everybody's given you accolades, and I would certainly agree, boy, we've come a long ways and have further to go, up and getting better all the time. And just a little side story, I was at a funeral, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and this young lady came up to me and she says, you don't know me, but I'm the daughter of Kirby Hart. I heard a few uh-huhs. Kirby Hart was one of the first, maybe, of community members who said, we need this college. And she just was very talkative and really wanted me to know how much this meant to her dad throughout his lifetime. It was a very moving thing. And of course, you know, Kirby Hart was from Nunn, so that makes him even more special. So anyway, it's, once again, folks, you're doing a great job, and I sure appreciate it. So any comments about how we did, board meeting? Anybody have any complaints?
No.
Good.
Heck no. Could be a little cooler in here.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that. You know, I wonder what are these pipes? Anybody know?
Those are the portable air conditioners.
Well, I don't think it's on. Oh. Oh. Okay. All right. Okay.
Hey, I got
Can
one
we
more
get
comment.
some fans next year?
Yeah. All right.
I got one more comment.
Good.
Speak into your mic.
I'm going to keep you in here for a minute.
Uh-oh.
Hey, I got to ask Eric. My wife does the senior resource thing. She drives people around, takes them to medical appointments and stuff. She takes this lady, her husband, we found out yesterday, was the gentleman who wrote the original charter for Ames Community College. And she loves to hear about all we're doing. So if he's in a nursing home, but if they can get him out and about, is it all right if we bring him to the grand opening?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. I'll tell him. He'll love it. Yeah.
That's going to be one exciting event. I just was looking forward to it. The mayor of Loveland was here with us for the reception, I guess it's called, and she just couldn't say enough about how happy she was to see that Ames was going to be here and what it brought to the airport. And further, her hope is that soon there will be commercial airlines coming in and out of Loveland. And one of the things that will help the application to get that done is Ames Community College having their flight program right here. So there's a lot of people that are pretty darn excited, and that's really good. Any other comments?
Well, on that thought, maybe
Uh-oh.
we can talk that mayor into giving us naming endowment mill for Loveland. For the new center.
Or maybe she could talk it with the whole Larimer
Wouldn't that
County
be
of
good?
joining that district.
I know that's in the works, but.
Yep. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 No.